Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast. This is it's kind of a hybrid Patreon special and not a Patreon special. In that, if you're listening to this as a patron, you're the only ones getting to listen to it in audio format. But we are broadcasting live currently on YouTube and to our super secret Patreon only Facebook page. So if you're watching live, feel free to get involved in the comments. We're doing a Lions preview. It's Lions versus Springboks first test preview. We'll try and see how we get on because the team was leaked before we did the last podcast. We kind of previewed it already. But we also did say that the leaked team was utter rubbish and was never in a month of Sundays going to be the actual team. How wrong we were. It's a Patreon special, so if you're watching this on YouTube, I will just warn you, for Patreon specials, we do swear. Swearing is permitted for Patreon specials because children can't afford to listen to us. That's the way we normally justify it. So there's your warning anyway, you've had it.
Although you can become a child Patreon for 10 bags of Haribo.
Oh, right. So what would your 10 bags of Haribo be made up of? Would it be, right, so you've got to have...
Hang on, wait a minute. No, that's all right for the kid to give you sweets, Ian. I was just working out whether or not I could allow that.
Is this not... There's
no vans involved. There's nothing like that. No.
Did we not have a conversation with Ross at band practice regarding like the length of his jacket and whether it was suitable for that sort of activity? Or was that just me? That's possibly just me.
What, shopping for Haribo?
No, so I said that Ross's jacket, I mean, it was like a proper, you could open it and there was sweeties sort of jacket, but it wasn't quite long enough where you could get a good array of sweeties where you could attract all sorts. So it was, you know.
Was it long enough to conceal the three children that make up Ian Henderson?
I mean, he's a big boy, isn't he? I don't know. It was
four children then. On the shoulders.
Four children.
We won on top of the baby face and the beard painted on.
So who does the speaking? Because I mean, is like possibly the most polite man in rugby.
Well, there you go. See, he's just a well-mannered child on top. They put them with the most well-behaved one at the top and paint it with beard on. That's how it works. The Lions then. So it's we've had the team out, and I think I don't like leaked teams because it kind of feels like it ruins Christmas a wee bit. John, we've said, we've got more Scottish representation, I think, than we could ever have dreamed of. It's not necessarily the one that we wanted. Sounds like Batman now. It's not. We got the one. It's not necessarily the Scottish ones that we needed right now, but it's the one we deserve.
I mean, yes, but as a Glasgow Warriors fan and a very vocal Ali Price supporter, I am utterly delighted to see him having shown the Scottish rugby fraternity who could consistently, I mean, it is just our 9 plays slow. Idiotic statement that we always get. So it's great to see him getting that recognition. Yeah, I mean, Hamish Watson, do you know what? Like, I was in the build up to it. I was like, "Oh, right, I can't be having Tom Cormack. I'm not having this. I'm not going to put up with this. This is disgraceful. I'm going to wear a Springboks top and everything. I'm going to rebel." No, do you know? I get the suggestion that Mish can come on and see if Tom Curry's been rubbish. Mish can come on at 50, he can come on at 45, and come on and do Mish things and like beat 14 men in a minute and do like he done against Wales those years ago. So I can see the logic, but no, we've got some. It's superb to see the representation we've got, and congratulations, obviously, to all the guys selected. It's fantastic, and particular congratulations to Stuart Hogg for shutting Liam Williams down because he is a dickhead.
Craig, I think the squad was a surprise. I mean, it wasn't surprising it was leaked, but it was a surprise. I think that was the actual test squad. And when I sat down and thought about it, I kind of mentioned it a little bit in the last podcast we did, that it's actually a really Gregor Townsend squad in that it's full tombola. Let's just throw a load of lads together that we think will work, but we haven't really tested them out and see how they go. And, when he Cammy Redpaths it works gloriously, but then we've also seen the Toonie Tombola completely come apart as well at the seams. So who knows which way this will go?
Really, I think one of the only pairings I think looking at it that has actually played a lot of time together as Almond Jones and Mario Itoje in the second row. I think they've, that's about it. And I'm kind of
2017.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and one of them's got a duff shoulder. But I don't know if this has been his plan all along. Just look at we're trying all these different these different I've lost the word completely out of my head, but we've tried these combinations. There we go. And look at us, we're trying this combination, and we're trying this combination, and then all of a sudden, screw the combinations. Let's just go for it. And totally.
Boom,
and,
there we go.
Two fat ladies. We're going to have Elliot Daly. So it's crazy. But I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that Mish isn't starting, but I can understand what they're trying to do. I'm actually very disappointed for Chris Harris. I think Chris Harris is, he has played his heart out and he's done an incredibly good job. And I don't understand why he's not in there. So I'm very very disappointed for him and Suz, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, Suz is on the bench. I think, Ian, the Chris Harris one, I think, has to be tactical, that Elliot Daly's in at 13, presumably because they've got a plan for him to kick. I don't know if they're going to drop him back with Hogg in the backfield and slip some bigger in that 13 channel in defence. But that's got to be tactical. I mean, we said Daly's had a good tour, but I mean, against South Africa, with his kick, he kicked straight to Cheslin Colby and he ran at everybody and scored a try. Well, he set up a try anyway,
Yeah, when that was him covering fullback, well, we believe he was because, the numbers were all mental. I think he was wearing number 23, but I believe he was the starting fullback. And maybe if he's a wee bit further up the field and he kicks in behind rather than straight to, that would probably be a tactic. But yeah, I mean, Harris has been, we know how defensively strong he is, but, like you were saying, there's a possibility defensively that they could all move out one if Daly's going to sit back deeper, because Henshaw is a big lad and can get about at 13, and Bigger is defensively very sound as well down that 10-12 channel. So that could be an option. Interestingly, we were talking about combinations. It's the centre combination of Henshaw and Daly that have played the longest together on this tour. They played 57 minutes against the Stormers, and the only other combination was Price and Bigger for 20 minutes against Japan. So yeah,
this is peak keeping your powder dry, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, individually they've all performed well. Like Courtney Law's, not the biggest fan of him, but he really hit the ground running, and we know he is a physical specimen, and he's quite good in the line out as well. But I mean, leaving Burnout was the big shock for me.
It's a huge one, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, Burns he's been absolutely tearing up trees, hasn't he, this tour? And he probably came into the tour maybe as you would probably have said he was there or thereabouts given his club form, but he probably wasn't first choice. But based on his are you guys drinking the same beer?
What?
Hold, sorry, distracted. What have you got? You've got Elvis juice. Oh, Innocent Gun, right? No, it was just Ian moved so fast it looked red. Sorry. There you go. No, I mean, I think
Flash.
So, yeah, that's it.
Although that was, when that was a different thing, which has got me on a register.
I think Elliot Daly's a really interesting selection actually, because by all. Remember we talked at the start of the tour about the almost the fuck you Eddie selections. That's what Elliot Daly is. Picking him at 13 is a ram it up, Eddie. We know better than you, because Eddie Jones has played Elliot Daly at centre once, and all of a sudden he's a Lions starter at centre. It's a big get up, Eddie, for me. But he also has, sadly, as he's proven in this tour, dicks for fingers. So let's watch out for those passes going astray. And in a tight game, that's the point. I was actually going to make a serious point beyond that. In a tight game, as it will be in a test match, you can always rely on Elliot Daly to make one mistake, and that might cost them.
Yeah, and I think that's the risk. I think someone in the comments saying that he's got under 70% tackle completion, and I can't remember the tackle completion against South Africa was pretty poor.
Yeah, about that.
And then was it the second Bulls test? The Sharks, and it was the Celsius Sharks. Didn't play the Bulls, did they?
They didn't play the Bulls, no.
That second Celsius, Christ's sake, bloody tongue twister. The Sharks, we call them the Celsius Sharks because it sounds like the she sells on the seashore. The Sharks game, the second Sharks game where it was a really tight first half. I think the tackle completion overall for that game was miserable.
Yeah.
So it's not. I don't know. I think this team's been sent out to try and front up to South Africa, and I just don't think that's necessarily what you want to do. I mean, I guess they've got to try and get some parity with them, maybe, but I would rather have seen. I'd rather have had Curry and Mish in the same back row and Burn on the bench than Laws to be able to come on if that's the kind of thing they were looking to do. It doesn't make no sense to me. The forward pack in particular.
The only thing you can look at is maybe they are actually concerned about Alan Wynne-Jones's shoulder, so that they've got Laws there to slot straight into cover for him if he comes off in second or third tackle and it goes. I don't think he'd be there and he'd be starting if his shoulder was bad, but you just don't know.
But I think that's the problem, though, isn't it? And this is, maybe this is a Gatlin selection that maybe it's a Tinney one as well. That do you sacrifice a bet? Two positions essentially, a bench spot and a position on the field for the sake of one man's shoulder. I mean, Alan Wynne-Jones is a good player and has been a phenomenal player in the past. I think he's still fine now. I think he was still in contention for the Lions and he's a good captain, but is he that good compared to everybody else that you sacrifice another, you weaken your six and lose somebody on the bench? And I don't think he is. I think that this could be a mistake.
There's better locks at home than Alan Wynne-Jones.
There's better locks on the tour, arguably, than Alan Wynne-Jones as well. Adam Beard, for example, had a really good last couple of games.
Absolutely. The only way I can think that they've actually managed to prove so. Alan Jones's shoulder is going to be the big talking point, and it's going to be every time he goes down after making a tackle because he's 174. So he lies down after every tackle and doesn't get up and doesn't bother with the next one. Watch for that, guys. Yes, I don't mind the criticism. The only way I can think that they possibly test short of getting Patches O'Houlihan from dodgeball is smash him with a wrench. That's the only thing I can think of that they've managed to do to test his shoulder to make it acceptable. But there's no way that they can tell if he's going to hold together. And I think you're absolutely right. I think the selection has been built on the idea that Alan Jones has to play the first test. That's why they bring him back out, and they've literally rejigged the whole squad with a view to that happening.
Yeah. The other interesting from I think it was you was mentioning on the podcast, Ian, last time that the Springboks front row, the first choice front row is on the bench.
Yep.
Which is the bomb squad, as they're known. You wonder whether or not the scrum selection then has been, whether Suz is on the bench, Craig, because they want him to come on and front up. Maybe Suz would have started if the bomb squad had started.
Yeah, but then you would then say, well, why is Tag Furlong starting? And Sinclair, okay, fair enough. I suppose you could probably say, well, they need to have a short up scrum somehow. But and don't get me wrong, Wynne-Jones isn't isn't a bad prop at all. He's a fantastic prop, and he's done a very, very good job. But I think Suz is being judged on his last game, and people were saying, he's given away about 2 or 3 penalties in the scrum the last game that they played. But I don't actually really agree with that. I think he was penalised. He was penalised unfairly in the last couple of scrums. So in the last game, so I don't know. You just don't. I don't think anyone really turns around and looks at the form in the last game there and says, actually, you know what, we're going to drop him to the bench. I think it may be tactical, but you just felt that everybody was getting. We talked about it on the podcast there a couple of weeks ago how Xander had been kind of put in with Mako Vinopola, and that's the sort of tag team that they're putting together there, and the Suzzes with Tag Furlong, and it's all kind of gone. Or just as you say, the Tombola's come out and going, right, okay, up you come.
Yeah. There's someone suggesting, Aldo's suggesting, the whole Allen and Jones selection is purely so Ali can start at 9 instead of Murray, obviously. I mean, there is that argument, isn't there, Ian, that, Ali Price has had such a phenomenal lines to her so far compared to all the other nines that really they have no other option than to start Ali Price, which presumably means, then you have to stick a captain on the field.
See, I'm not sure if I buy it entirely because last tour, Peter O'Mahony captained the first test. I'm not sure if Warburton was full. No, Warburton was on the bench, wasn't he?
Warburton was on the bench. That's a shocking decision, by the way, just as an aside. Peter O'Mahony is an awful person.
So, I mean, cause we all go on about leadership groups and stuff like that, and you've got your forward leaders and your back leaders. Murray was just probably named tour captain because there was hardly anyone else.
He was named tour captain because he'd been on a tour before. That's literally his only credential.
He's got the most air miles.
It's like you've captained the Lions for longer, Ian.
Aye, on Rugby Challenge.
Exactly.
But no, I mean, I think it's not even just Gatland once again doing a Gatland thing. It's just Price has played his wearing the jersey, and I think the plan is to rather than box kick straight to Colby and Mapimpi or LaRue, who are all great counter attackers. It's actually keep the likes of Dutoit and Dutoit, I believe you pronounce it properly, and Mostert and that on their toes around the fringes. Try and inject a bit of pace.
I think Ali Price will, if Ali Price box kicks, he box kicks into space rather than directly to the players, which is, and sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't, but more often than not, it comes off compared to Conor Murray.
Yeah, I think Price's box kicking's been on pretty much on point this series. A lot of them being contestable, whereas Murray, I thought, had a couple of dodgy ones. Maybe he's not adjusted to the different climate or whatever. But
well, that was what Warburton said, wasn't it? Warburton, that was his argument for it. He was like, I watched the game back, and Murray had a couple of box kicks that were poor. He must just not have adjusted to the altitude yet. And it was like, no, you're not at altitude anymore. you're making excuses for shite box kicking. Sorry, guys, his box kicking was crap. That's all we're saying here.
There was Craig, I'll throw this one to you because it's a good chance to get a wee Glasgow dig in. But there was somebody on Twitter said, how can Ali Price has never had to deal under pressure behind a forward pack that's struggling, and I pointed out, well, he does that week in, week out at Glasgow.
Aye, well, he's got Ryan Wilson. Anyone that wears a top knot needs in the back row needs to be absolute. Anyway, that's a different story.
I suppose that but there is an element, I suppose, from what we've seen of Ali Price at Scotland, and I think he's got better at this. But we did see against England, for example, that he's going to have to at least be on point in marshalling his forwards, because Itoje was coming straight through the gap against England, and he got away with it. But the Springboks are going to be targeting him, so he's going to have to be better at making sure his forwards are giving him adequate protection.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to just. I think Ali Price comes across as someone who, if it's not going right, he overplays, and I think, or he gets too excitable, and I think those, and unfortunately those two chase downs by Itoje in the Calcutta Cup is haunting him, because I was listening to something just today in the car, and it was, Ali Price, it's all going to, he's only on, at least we've got Conor Murray on the bench, so that in 5 or 10 minutes when Ali Price goes holy shit, then we can put Conor Murray on and settle everything down. It's an absolute joke. But I think it's just haunting him, unfortunately. That and it was a simple, just not getting his forwards in place. Just take a couple of minutes. It's a box kick. It's not like he's going to try and snipe around the edges of the ruck. He needs to just settle down and just do that. But we'll wait and see. I don't understand why the Scotland forwards only listened to him. I'd understand if the Lions forwards only listening to him, but it was the Scotland forwards at that.
I think he did recover. To be fair, though, he did recover well from that during the cup, Ian, and and he's not the player he was 2 years ago. Certainly, he's much better.
That's the thing, now see, if we wanted to talk about scrum halves not organising their ruck guards properly, does anyone remember Ruckgate, Glasgow v Munster?
Josh Strauss!
Boom!
Do you know who remembers? Do you know who else remembers that? Rassie Erasmus, the Munster coach at the
time. Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh no, it's just one of these things. What a Scotland player makes a mistake 5 fucking years ago, and every country Wales and Ireland remembers it. Like Conor Murray's never had a fucking box kick charged down. See,
He had the one the other day. Charged down.
Owen Farrell got the most obvious one. I mean, that was never on. What the fuck was he doing?
But this is the thing, though, Ian. It seems to be all the players who have had a Lions jersey that are on tour can't do anything wrong, and they're the players that have been absolute mince. Looking at why Owen Farrell on the bench, why? Really, okay. Oh, he gives cover. He does this. He does that. Yeah, but Marcus Smith could do that.
Do you know what? I think the Farrell one's sent. So as you know, I loathe Owen Farrell with every inch of my being.
Don't you dare defend him, John.
I'm not going to defend him. I am defending the coaches. I am not defending little Northern Owen. He's there because he can slot in at 12. That's the only reason he's there, because actually a massive reshuffle, if someone went down in the back line, so if Hogg or Duhan or the other guy that I don't care about went down, Anthony Watson, just to be clear, I do know who's in the team, guys. If one of them went down, Daly would have to shift, then Henshaw would have to shift, then Farrell would have to come on and shift in. It's obvious why he's there, but I'm like you. I would have thrown Marcus Smith in, but I'm like the Joker. I'm all about just.
See, the most injury prone of all those players as well is Henshaw.
Yeah.
So
he's
like for like played a lot. So.
I think let's be honest though. I mean, if Finn Russell was fit, Owen Farrell wouldn't be in that team.
Yeah,
because,
100%.
And I think that's and that's not just us looking at this through tartan tinted glasses. That's pretty much from the coach's mouths. Finn Russell's still on that tour, even though he's injured, because he'll be fit for the second and third tests.
Yeah, he would have been home by now. Absolutely,
exactly. If they weren't going to use him, if they didn't see him as absolutely key to the game plan, that's the one thing. That's the one thing that makes me think that this squad has been sent out specifically for the first test. This isn't a second or third test team. This is the first test. We need to get through this because the guy that's key to our game plan, and whether that's from the bench or whether it's starting, is injured, but he's going to be fit for the second test. And I think that's Finn Russell. I think we saw what Scotland have done with Russell and Hogg and putting them deep and both of them sending long spiral kicks upfield over the tops of everybody's heads, getting in touch, getting possession has worked really well for Scotland, and stretching the defences at the back. So I think that's the plan, and I wonder whether Daly at 13 is kind of in there as a bit of a stopgap.
It's a very good call.
Because in South Africa, they're not really going to score. They're not going to play through you. They're going to try and burst through you, and it's a lot harder to burst through you from 80 metres away than 40 metres away.
Yeah. I do wonder if Chris Harris will come into the reckoning actually on that very front, because if you're putting those kicks in behind, you're turning that back three of South Africa, getting them playing from deep. Who do you want to be leading the charge? Well, the best defender in the Northern Hemisphere, Chris Harris, who somebody said on one of the, I saw on Twitter during one of the warm-up games, why doesn't everyone else just stop and let Chris Harris do all the defending? And it's like,
he could do it as well.
it's a fair point, actually, because he's doing a lot of it on his own anyway. So, yeah.
He's doing it. He's doing it for everybody else.
Yeah. So on the point of Russell, though, can we just take a moment to imagine for a second the reaction on Wales Online if Russell gets the 10 jersey for the second test and Biggar gets dropped? Just soak that in, guys. Just enjoy that for a second. Enjoy the hate.
The one thing I would say, and it's again, I've talked about this before. It's one thing I agree with Eddie Jones about is that I think that the idea of people being dropped and the idea of the first 15 being your best players, those are the top 15 players that we have available, they're the best in their positions, is utter nonsense in modern rugby, because it's about combinations. It's about having a squad of 23 players that can win a match. So just because a player's bench doesn't mean that the guy that's starting ahead of him is better. It's just that that's the role that we're asking him to do, and we're going to ask this other guy in 40, 50, 60 minutes to come on and either do a different job or play differently because of the opposition. So I don't, as much as you kind of got the English and the Welsh fans all celebrating and saying, "Oh, guys are the best," I wouldn't say for a minute that Duhan van der Merwe is any better than some of the other options. I mean, I would argue probably he is a little bit in some areas, but he's better than Lewis Rees-Zammit, yes. Is he better than Josh Adams? Maybe. He offers a bit more physically, but Josh Adams maybe a bit better defensively. So I don't think it's strictly that they're being picked for a role to play. They're not being picked because they're the best players out there. And it startles me that guys who are getting paid as pundits and to write about rugby still think that that's how rugby works in 2021.
But Biggar doesn't cover 12, so he would
probably
drop out the 23, and that would count as being dropped in Wales Online's ideas.
Can he cover 15 though?
Absolutely not.
Has he not done it in the past?
I think I've seen him play.
You know what? He probably has.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But you might. That's why I'm convinced that when Finn is fit, he'll be on the bench for the second test, and then if everything else is failed and they want to go for a bit cats in the rave, they'll start him on the third test. I think he's there for a job, and he was selected in the Lions squad for a job, and that is you've got your Farrell or you've got your Biggar who play to the game plan that everybody wants them to play, and then you can bring Finn Russell off the bench if it's all going to shit. And he'll get you behind it. You get the ball behind him.
Yeah, and I do wonder whether they've got a completely different game plan in mind for the second and third tests. They might even have a completely different game plan. It would be peak Townsend to have a different game plan per game.
Yeah. Well, they've talked before about them having different playbooks for different games, like individual playbooks for each game and stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
and we saw the Lions defend very narrow against Japan, obviously to try and sort of starve Matsushima with ball. So maybe they're practicing to start trying to stop Colby getting the ball. It's like,
don't kick it to him then.
That'd help.
That's the key.
Or as I don't know if you heard John the other night. I'd seen on Twitter somebody said, he had a Munster flag as his Twitter profile avatar.
It was a massive red flag. That
always a start. Yeah. Right, I'll take this with a pinch of salt.
Said, if Duhan's starting, he'll just get stepped by Colby again. Lol. And obviously they've not been on the same pitch yet, so that's not been possible.
Yeah, funny that. Yeah. Did you remind them?
Chris Harris and Duhan van der fucking Merwe.
Well, they can't tell the difference because it was actually Lewis Rees-Zammit's fault the whole time anyway. So
about that outside, weren't I?
Yeah, I know. I'm so young and I have a lightning bolt in my head. Aye, all right, mate.
I heard that was a fine, by the way.
I know. I seen that. I backed out of that one. I know. I was going to, but still, do you know what? Deserved.
We've got Brian on Facebook says the sad thing about the Lions is that you're exposed to the Uber dross on social media. Duhan van der Merwe is too slow to be a winger. How about he proves you wrong by chasing you into the sea, you oxygen thief? I don't know. Yeah. Is it just like watching a really fast steam train? Doesn't look like it should go that fast, but it does.
Yeah. Well, remember for years Alex Dunbar held the record for he was actually the fastest player.
Fastest Scottish
Scotland
player.
when they tried to score against Italy. So, it's acceleration 78, top speed 95 sort of thing, in Pro Evo stats.
You had to get that in.
Pro Evo. Yes, absolutely.
Hashtag RIP Pro Evo.
Yeah, but it's just all this crap. I mean, this Wales Online article I read saying, it's unquestionable that Duhan van der Merwe has taken St. Josh Adams' place. It isn't. It could have been Watson. It could even have been Liam Williams. Josh Adams could have played the number 23 slot. If he has to go on the wing, Watson can go to fullback, Daly can go to fullback, Henshaw can move it, Farrell can move it.
And Warren Gatland said he's taking a bump. Warren Gatland said Josh Adams taking a bump in the last game, and he's been a bit off since his wife gave birth, and he had to watch.
Because watching that on Zoom is going to be that's going to be horrendous. Off. I know, like watching that live is bad, but watching it in Zoom, Jesus Christ!
At least you got the chance. I was going to say, at least you got the choice. At least you got the choice to be up by the head. Christ knows where they had the iPad and the webcam.
Download the Shudder app and get that on there. Jesus fuck. Yeah, no, I think like the interesting point everybody's making is that they're all suggesting that it's Duhan who has basically taken as you say, taking St. Adams' place. Anthony Watson's the one for me. Like, I know people say he's played well internationally and stuff like that. I've never actually seen him play that well. Like, he's been bang average every time I've seen him. I get why he's there. He's experienced. He does the basics well. But for me, Duhan's box office. And you could argue, Adams has done well on this tour. He's a flat track bully. He scored tries against provincial teams.
Walk-ins. He scored
exactly. But Duhan's the point of difference, and he needed to be in there, and that's why he was picked in the squad in the first instance. We all called it at the time.
Yeah.
It's one thing with Watson, like people are still remembering him from like 4 or 5 years ago when I can't remember what French winger it was, but he ended up like giving them twisted blood by turning them inside out so much, like their blood vessels actually got twisted. But since then he ripped his Achilles doing a Nike advert or something, and he's had a few injury problems down there, and that's once your Achilles goes, that's going to take a bit out of you. If you're a speed merchant. He's a fine player, but I think I would have gone Adams Duhan, Hogg, but I ain't the coach, and just because the coaches have picked Duhan, it's not some kind of massive compromise. I'm sure Gatland would have had a final veto card if he was that pissed off about it.
Okay, I think Watson gets a little bit of a hard time from all of us who aren't the biggest English teams fans, but if you actually watch them, I think they've probably given they've got the steam train on one end so they can pass the ball to the steam train and see if he can gain as many yards as he possibly can, and then you've got a fairly intelligent player who can kick, who's got a bit of pace, who's got quite a few different, he's good in the air, etc. So I think they've kind of hedged their bets on both sides, whereas with Josh Adams and then Duhan on the other side, you're looking at a fairly blunt attack. When I say blunt attack, I'm not saying they're bad, but they'll take contact before trying to step. So
Adams stepped Blair Kinghorn quite spectacularly a couple of years ago.
I will not have that. How dare you bring that up?
Sorry, it was on Scotland duty, so I'm taking the piss out myself here.
I think there's quite a lot of people who have stepped Blair Kinghorn in the time, but I'm not going to say any more.
John just missed his favourite hobby, Blair Kinghorn slagging.
Did we? Why are we slagging Blair? What's he done?
You just sit there and be quiet now.
No. You, corner man, you be quiet for a sec.
He got stepped by Josh Adams.
Oh, of course he did. Yeah. Blair's like, see, before they put in like turnstiles in train stations, that's what Blair Kinghorn's defence was. It wasn't even that you had to click your way through; it was just you walk through.
Somebody will probably like, the machine's busted, mate. On you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the equivalent of when you get the wee ticket guy to open the door for you, and you don't even show him your ticket. He's just like, I can't be arsed, mate. Kinghorn.
Okay, we'll move on before we upset Craig anymore.
Sorry.
No, please carry on. I'm just putting it down in my wee black book, and I'm going to come back with when I can think of them. I'll come back with some zingers.
Aside from that, anybody for you, Ian, to watch on the Springbok side?
No, because it's mainly the World Cup winning squad, so we know most of them. I don't know much about the starting front row. Well, I know nothing apart from Mbanambi. Obviously, I'm sorry if I've completely destroyed that pronunciation. But there is the bomb squad coming off the bench. Maybe that's why they've left Sutter on the bench, because they've realised Sinclair's maybe not the best scrummager, to put it bluntly. So they're trying to balance it out, going right. So he's not as good. Maybe Suz can get something on. Who's
Kashif?
No, it's yeah. So it'd be Sinclair. Sinclair's against Kitsoff.
Kitsoff, sorry.
But no, we know them all really.
Yeah.
Although
there's no surprises there necessarily.
Did he miss the World Cup? Was he injured?
Fimpy?
No, he played at the World Cup.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if he played at the World Cup.
Yeah.
What's your take then, guys, on Rassie Erasmus Waterboy? We happy with that?
Absolutely, 100%. That is the future right there. Like, he's obviously been a big fan of Adam Sandler over the years and has taken it to the next level. No, do you know what? I think it's absolutely fair, right? Because actually, like, see if you think about it, right? He's passing messages on to coaches to go on with water anyway. Like, it's happening anyway. We're not all naive enough to think, the coaches can't get the messages on to the players. They take it on at every opportunity. You see the kicking coaches, you see everybody. There's a reason you have all these coaches. They're there to pass on messages. Just get the bloody guy on the park. It's fine.
The guy who sits beside me at Scotstoun, he absolutely fucking despises the Ulster medic. He's like a dead guy, kind of like, what's he called? Strubius, from Son of the Jedi. And he's always, for the whole 80 minutes, he'll be walking around the touchline, nobody injured or anything. He'll just be walking up and giving instructions.
Shout messages.
And it drives him mental.
Sometimes
and then it starts driving me mental once he points to it.
Was it the Ulster? Was it the Ulster physio that called Jamie George fat?
No, that's Munster.
That was Munster.
Yeah.
Yes, Munster are horrible with regards to things like that. No, I think in terms of like Scotstoun, actually, just to do a little bit of Glasgow criticism, it doesn't surprise me that someone in the fan might think someone from Ulster was horrible, Ian, because that tends to happen quite often in the Scotstoun crowds.
Let's move on for that.
Yeah, whoa!
He didn't mean it like that.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I'm just doing my best to get us some clicks, guys. It's all good.
It's fine. So we'll do score predictions then. John, I'll start with you. Score predictions for this weekend.
So I think I genuinely think South Africa are going to have too much for the Lions. I think despite the best efforts of the Scottish guys who are going to, I think they'll all play really well. I think the guys off the bench will have a massive impact, and I think it'll follow the pattern of the South Africa A game. I think we're going to see probably South Africa 24, Lions will come back into it in the last 20, but it'll be Lions 17. So 24-17.
That's pretty much what I was thinking. I think it's going to be like the South Africa A game where the bench comes off and closes the gap, but it's too late. Ian, are you any more optimistic than that?
No, I was going to say 23. 23-17. So I same reasons. I think, it'll be sort of within a sort of score area, but I think somebody will make a mistake early doors, and then we know how good South Africa are. Just great.
Dilly.
Quite possibly, as long as it's not one of yours, that's fine. That's all I'm saying.
Is that what we need? Is that the peak? Should the peak of our optimism, Craig, that none of our lads fuck up?
That's it. It's like fingers. Oh, please, don't let the English have to shout about the Scottish. No, please. No, I'm actually at the point. I'm seeing Lions 30, South Africa 23. I think the bench are going to come on, and it's going to be yeehaw.
You realise the South Africa bench is pretty strong as well, right?
Listen, they've got a ginger boy for Pollock Shields coming on as a prop.
Exactly. That's the point. Sosa has never come up against such talent.
No, I honestly think that I think the Lions will take it. I originally thought 26-24 to the Lions, but I think it maybe we'll get a score in it. So maybe it'll be to 30-24. So I'm going to stick 23. So I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah,
you double down on it. I love that.
Double down on it.
Yeah,
good man.
Well, there we go. We'll see if any of that pans out. John's going to be taking the reins of the podcast next week. I'm away on holiday.
Oh, where are you going?
I'm going to stay at the in-laws' house and they're coming to stay at mine. Not that I'm tight or anything, and when you pay for a holiday for my family, but I am tight for a holiday for my family.
Is that like wife swap sort of the TV show?
House swap.
House swap. That's a different program.
That's a different program channel.
Yeah, showing the issues there.
Yeah,
that'll be lovely, Cammy.
I know it's the next time away.
Is that just round the corner from you? So you like?
No, it's an hour and a half up the road. so I'm saving on the petrol as well. It's like a
good
dream.
Man. That's smart. Yeah, you're clearly doing this right.
Have you seen the price of petrol these days?
I know. It's an hour and a half up the road. And there's a perfectly good park at the end of the street, so we're not getting in the car and driving anywhere. And
so basically, what you're saying, Cam, is I'm in charge for next week. Basically, we'll be doing probably a full hour and a half pod on why Blair Kinghorn should be a Lion at that point, after the British and Irish Lions get utterly trashed by Cheslin Colby.
No, I think we should be talking about why Blair Kinghorn should be the standalone Scottish 15 once the Lions spank the South Africans.
I'll leave it.
He's a 10 now. He's a 10 now, mate.
Look, guys, just save this till next week when I'm not here, right?
I wouldn't worry. There's plenty more. We like the Lions. We are keeping our powder dry.
What's going to happen is I'm going to come back next week and be texting everybody saying, "Right, boys, we're doing the podcast this week. Now we've all fallen out. None of us are coming on again. It's been a whole new load of."
Cammy, I'm going to have to mediate, Cammy.
The world has gone wrong, man.
I'll still try and get Johnny McGinn on, but I don't think that'd help.
No.
God, no.
What was the deal with Johnny and his guns at the weekend? The pod the other night there. Why was he packing? Why was he like in his vest?
It's 800 degrees Celsius in Scotland.
I know, but even then, like
he's a vest collector.
He's a back.
He's a fullback. Exactly. Look at my guns. Very good, mate. Very good.
No, he needs as much skin available to try and catch the ball.
I know. Yeah. How far up can you go with the grip spray?
Well, Johnny grips his head, but that's a different story.
Talking about golf here, yeah.
Right, okay, enough of this nonsense.
On that note, that's it for this week. Well, I'll not see you, but everyone else will see you next week. For the moment, it's goodbye from me, goodbye from John, Ian, and Craig.
Cheerio. I should have found out how to say bye in Afrikaans.
How do you think it is? Google it, Ian, while we've got time. I've not clicked the button yet.
You can
just say it in a really bad South African accent.
No.
Goodbye.
Totien? Totiens?
I think we should go before someone commits a hate crime here.
I think so.
Right.
I've seen Lethal Weapon too.
Totien. See you all later. Bye.
Bye.